This is the screenshot from last tutorial. This is the last thing we talked about in that tutorial. In this tutorial, we'll learn how to create this HTML document in a notepad window, save it as an HTML document, and then we will open Internet Explorer and load this HTML document into Internet Explorer and see whether this document actually produces this display. Okay. Then we'll try to make some variations of it and see how it works. Okay. So that's where we are heading. So I'm going to close this window and get my desktop displayed. Okay, I have my desktop displayed now. I minimized all the windows. As you can see here, I was working on a lot of other programs, but I didn't close them. I just minimized them so I can get back to it when I'm done with the tutorial. Okay, if you have Windows 8, this one is Windows 7 operating system. If you have 8, then you can go to the search and find Notepad++ and invoke the program. If you have Windows 7 or anything earlier, you can go to all programs and find Notepad++ and run it. When you run the window, it may take up the entire screen. If it's maximized, it just usually starts the way you left last time around. Okay, so I would like for you to restore the size, and if it appears in a different way, just make sure that you take up about half of the window. Okay, then we're going to leave out like that and start Windows Explorer, Internet Explorer that is, and then do the same thing, minimize and move the window, resize the window, whatever it takes to take up about half of the remaining half of the screen. So we have two programs side by side. Okay, and before long you can see there's an advantage doing that. Okay, we'll type the HTML document in this window and we'll load the same document on this window and see how it appears. So, and we can make some changes here. We can just say reload and see how that change affects the display. That's the idea. Okay, so we have two windows side by side. As we said before in the previous tutorial, all HTML document starts with HTML tag. So here we go. This is our first HTML tag typing. Please make sure you always type all the HTML tag in lowercase letters. Okay, so HTML, then you press enter key. It is not necessary, but we tab them to increase or enhance readability. Okay, so HTML, then we have head, and next line we have the title. Okay, I'm trying to type the same document that we started with. Okay, title, and you can type exactly what we had there, which is HTML practice. Okay, practice, and you close the title tag. Okay. Title tag. Okay. I'm going to see if I can increase the font size a little better. Maybe that way it would be more readable. Okay. Let's keep it at this size. Okay. Then that is all we are going to have in the title and head section, so we close the head. Down the road we will see that there's a whole lot more that could go in between the head pair of tags, but for the time being that's all we're going to have. We close the head, then we start the body section. As you have seen in the previous tutorial, that HTML has two distinct sections. One is head, one is body. Okay, so here goes our body. In the body I'm going to type exactly what we had there as is before we make any changes. So here is P and it says hello world. Okay, so we say hello world. By the way, at the end of hello world there is a break tag. So as you can see, this is a singleton. As such, it's not going to have a corresponding closing one. Okay. And then we have to type, this is my first attempt. This is my first attempt creating a, and I'm going to insert a line break here just the way we had it. Okay. HTML document, HTML document, period. I think I am getting it. I think I am getting it. Okay. And then a line break, and it closes the P, which is the paragraph, and then it closes the body. Okay, and finally it closes the HTML tag. Okay. Now notice that all of these text appears in the same color, which happen to be black on the white background. Okay, now I'm going to try to save the file. Click on Save As. Please do make sure that Save As type is never normal text or anything else beside hypertext markup language. As you can see that this program allows you to save a file in so many different formats, but ours has to be text and the hypertext markup language, so that it will give you HTML or HTML extension. It by default gives you a file name. That's not what we are going to accept. We are going to call this file helloWorld, and the extension .html would be added to it. Now it is important that you remember where you are saving the file. Otherwise, when you try to load the file in Internet Explorer, you are not going to be able to find it or locate it. So I'm going to save the file in desktop. Okay, so click on Save. And apparently, I have a file named helloWorld, so I'm going to have to override this. If you didn't have a file named helloWorld, then you don't have to worry about that message. Okay, now that you see that since we saved this file in HTML format, now the appearance of this text has changed. It was just dull black color before. Now the text appears in a little bit darker, and all these tags has a particular color. If you click on a particular tag, as you see, the corresponding closing tag lights up. If you click on this, the corresponding closing lights up. As you can click on this, as you can see, the corresponding closing tag lights up. As you can click on this, of course it doesn't have a corresponding closing tag because that's a singleton. Okay, so we are done saving the file. Now we want to load the file on the Internet Explorer just to see how it's going to look like. So we come here, make sure this window is active now, File, Open, and you have to browse to where the file is saved. That's why it was important to remember where you are saving. Remember, we saved the file in the desktop, so we go to desktop. As a matter of fact, desktop is showing here. If it didn't, then you have to browse to the desktop. Okay, and that would be this one. Okay, as you go to the desktop, then select the file helloWorld, and I say open. Okay, and as you can see, this is how it looks. So that was actually the end slide in the previous tutorial, that this document appears this way. So that is basically how you create a document, save it, and load it in the Internet Explorer. Okay. Now we will play a little bit with it to make few points. As we have mentioned in the previous tutorial, that all tab, line break, spaces, they get translated into one white space. For example, we say bunch of white space here, a tab here, and even if we press bunch of and a line break, we save the file, we reload it, and as you can see, there is no change in appearance because all this white space that we inserted has been converted into one white space. Okay. Even though we had a line break here, but as you can see, after attempt and between attempt and HTML, there is only one space. So that demonstrates that all the white spaces that we enter to enhance readability, HTML ignores them all. Okay, if we take this P tag out, we're going to just make few changes and see how it affects the display. Okay, so I change this P and save it. Okay, and reload it. Okay, appearance didn't change much here. That is because after the helloWorld there is a line break. Okay, that took the rest of it to the next line. So what happens if I delete the line break as well? I save this document and save it. As you can see, without the line break, there is no break after hello world, and everything is a continuation. Okay. For example, we want to make this hello world to be, say, a heading, and there are different level of heading that you may have learned from the book. Suppose we make the largest kind heading, that is the level 1 heading. Okay. So again, we start something, we have to close because it's a pair tag. If we save this file and load it, as you can see, hello world appears as bold. Okay. Now if you wanted to make something centered, like in the homework, you're going to have to display your name centered. So how do you do that? There are other ways to do it, but one simple way you can do for now, before we learn sophisticated way to do that. Okay, like in homework, it asks that enter your name to be centered. So suppose I type my name, and if I save it, it's going to appear in this as the heading. However, I want it to be bold, so I can type a center tag too. Center itself is a tag. So if I close it here, instead let's close it here just to see how it's going to work. Say center. Okay. Center is a pair tag, so you have anything you start, you have to close it. So I save it and reload it. As you can see, everything goes in the center. But if I want only my name to be centered but not the text, then I cannot close it here. Okay. So I have to close it here instead. I just did cut and paste. Okay. So I close the center here, so this text is not under the influence of center. So we save it, reload it, and as you can see, the name is centered but the text is not. Okay. So why don't you go ahead and play with it, try to make some changes. More you play with it, better you get at it. Alright, that's all for now.